Welcome to Timeless Chronicles. These photos taken by a war photographer are the first images of corpses on the battlefield. Beato was only an assistant when he took his first war photographs, and he nearly didn't get credit. In 1856, when Felice Beato was only 24, a photographer named James Robertson sent him to photograph the battle sites of the Crimean War. The battle had been extensively covered in the Western press, and equally photographed thanks to Beato. However, Robertson himself signed the 150 photographs that he brought back. Thankfully, contemporary sources such as the Times London noted that Mr. Robertson has sent up an intelligent photographer to the Crimea, and he is now engaged in fixing as far as possible every remarkable site on paper. Felice Beato was well-traveled, which lent itself to working in far-off places. From a young age, Beato and his family moved around. He was born in Venice, Italy in 1832, raised on an island off of Greece, and moved with his family to Constantinople in 1844, which is where he met James Robertson. Because of his travels, Beato could cash in on a unique market. As the British Empire expanded across the East in the 19th century, so did the British people's curiosity about these foreign lands. Beato had already taken advantage of Britain's interest in the Indian Mutiny by photographing the aftermath of the revolt. As Beato continued to hone his photographic skills, the market for photographs of places previously unavailable to Westerners was booming. These photographs were collected as souvenirs and seen as more impartial than paintings. No one else took war photographs before him because of people's sensibilities. Despite Britain's immense interest in Eastern lands and the wars and rebellions occurring in these foreign places, no one had photographed war before Felice Beato because of Victorian sensibilities. In the mid to late 19th century, Victorians were considered prudish, demure, and rigid, and therefore sensitive to gruesome material. He didn't just photograph remains, he staged them. Since photography required a longer exposure period, it was impossible to capture battles as they were happening in real time. Photographers were relegated to the aftermath, and Beato took advantage of this to set the stage however he wanted. He only photographed enemy corpses, and he even dug up the buried bones of those massacred at a palace in Lucknow, India, to make the scene more dramatic. Beato captured a myriad of different conflicts all over the world. Although Beato is most discussed for his photographs of the Crimean War, since they are regarded as the first war photographs, Beato documented numerous battles all around the globe. Most notably, Beato photographed the Indian Mutiny in 1858, the Second Opium War in China, 1856 to 1860, and the Bakumatsu period in Japan, 1853 to 1867, where he lived for over 20 years, the longest he ever spent in one place. Beato was almost slain, and then photographed the scene of the crime. As someone who spent his entire life chasing war and revolution, it only was a matter of time before Beato himself got caught in the crossfire. In at least one instance, Beato managed to narrowly escape an assassination by declining an invitation to a post-breakfast excursion. The officers he was supposed to hang out with were slain by samurai. One of the culprits was publicly executed, an event that, of course, Beato photographed. He was also known for hand-coloring his photographs. In addition to war photography, Beato also contributed to the market for costume and culture photographs. In order to up the ante, he adapted a traditional Japanese hand-coloring technique used on woodblock prints and fabrics and applied it to his photographs. The history of war photography is steeped in the idea of truthfulness. Since its inception, photography has been heralded as the best technology with which to tell the truth. After all, painters could heavily skew the facts to fit a specific perspective, and although photography can also be manipulated, it was seen as immensely more truthful than painting. One of the reasons war, in particular, became such a popular subject was because it had a large audience. People were fascinated by the spectacle of battle. Beato was incredibly inventive and resourceful. Photography was fairly new at the time Beato's career was taking off. Unlike today, where a picture can be snapped in seconds, Beato and his contemporaries were restricted to a lengthier exposure time. This meant that it was nearly impossible to capture war in the heat of the moment. Beato needed a stationary subject, leaving him few options when photographing war.